Hello everyone, this is Arvind Chopra and Payal S. Kanwar from IFKI. I am from EBTC. Welcome to the webinar on how to protect and create value from intellectual property, which is being organized in association with IFKI, which is Indo-French Chamber of Commerce. Before I start, I would like to give an opportunity to Payal to contribute something towards the webinar, since it is in association with IFKI. Payal.
Yes. Good morning, everyone, to those who are joining us from Europe, and good afternoon to those who are here in India. On behalf of the Indo-French Chamber of Commerce and Industry and EBTC, I would like to welcome you all to today's webinar. Just a few words about IFKI. So we are a bilateral Chamber of Commerce working towards strengthening business ties between India and France. We currently operate out of 4 cities in India, so that's Bombay, Delhi, Chennai, and Bangalore, which was just opened last week. And we have about 500 member companies across France and India. Our activities involve organizing events. We have various publications, business support services, and an employment services desk. I'm very pleased and delighted to have this partnership today with EBTC, and we look forward to organizing many more events moving forward. So without further ado, without taking up more of your time, I'd like to now pass over to Arvind Chopra, who is the head of IPR for the European Business and Technology Center. Thank you very much. Over to you, Arvind.
Thanks, Payal, for that introduction to IFKI. Okay, let me start with it. Let me give you a brief introduction about the European Business and Technology Center. So I think we do not have a video broadcast here, so we are good with the headshots here. So in case we come across, we will be happy to meet you. The agenda is like this, that we would have a couple of slides on EBTC with an overview on opportunity in India for French companies, and then incidentally with all new technologies stuff, including in clean technologies and other, the Indian IT scenario becomes important. And when I say IT scenario, mostly in India, 2 major sources of IP assets are patents and trademarks. So in a way, it's more of a patent scenario, because that is where most of the action is actually happening. The other IP assets are basically well developed, and there is a large amount of case law to support them. Subsequently, we will see what are the policy challenges in IP, the challenges in terms of the enforcement in India, and strategies to protect IPR in India, specifically for French companies or European companies who would like to enter into India, or companies who are already into India. And then for the help of the European organizations, EBTC, as you know, is a program run by Eurochambers and basically supported by the European Commission. And EBTC IPR help desk is available, which provides assistance to SMEs in Europe for any kind of IPR support which is required for them in India. And of course, since we are an organization to bring European technologies into India, a brief overview about the technology transfer toolkit which is available at EBTC. Finally, we end up with a question answer session. So this is the broad outline as to how we're going to go ahead. Without wasting further time, I will just try to give you an outline of EBTC. So in a sense, EBTC is a gateway to clean technology market into India. So it acts as a one-stop place where you can actually initiate. If you're a European company and you want to come into India, you can basically go ahead and contact us, and you would find that we act as a kind of one-stop place for bringing these technologies into India, specifically the climate change, the green technologies in renewable energy and other stuff. We are organized. We have a director who basically looks after the entire operation. We have sector experts and then regional offices at 4 locations. So the regional offices are at New Delhi, Bengaluru, Kolkata, and Mumbai. And we specialize in green biotechnology, environment, which would be basically water, wastewater management, and any other kind of environmental technologies. transport, which is basically sustainable transport, or transport wherein we would require to have seamless integration of traffic management systems and other stuff. And then IPR is one component which goes across these sectors, and therefore IPR becomes an important ingredient while transferring these technologies or making collaborations in India. Sorry. The next slide is about the toolbox of services which are available at EBTC. Okay, EBTC basically started as a project in 2008 to understand Indian markets and to basically provide an opportunity profile to European SMEs who are interested in coming to India. Okay, so we try to find a project and a partner in India for you. We also support any kind of technology transfer where you have differences in terms of IP support, or you want to do the technology transfer and want to know the best path forward. You want to communicate with the experts here on IP issues, or you want to understand how to utilize the IP scenario or the framework in India. So all those help is being provided by the IPR Help Desk. We also help in establishing an organization as an entry point to India, to help in incubation services, okay, to localize your technology. In many cases, technology needs to be localized because there may be varying conditions of operation. There might be differences in terms of adaptation of technology. For example, there could be a variation as to how many people are using a technology of a particular type. And then basically there is a lot of research which goes on in Europe, and those technologies could be easily brought into India for benefit of both the organizations or for doing the industry collaboration. And then in case there is a pilot on specific type of clean tech, we also facilitate the management of the pilot projects by making them viable, visible with Indian organizations. And to a certain extent, we also provide the funding advice to European organizations as to how to go ahead and fund these ventures, specifically in research areas, in areas where you have a high amount of technology intervention and a lot of fund is required for transferring it. Moving on to the next one, which is about what is the opportunity in India. So the opportunity in India is immense. Okay, as you will know that Prime Minister Modi, and his newly elected government, launched a Make in India campaign in September 2014 to encourage investment and manufacturing in India by making the approval process transparent and streamlining it. So the opportunity to make in India with the new government is immense. To give you some statistics which have been taken from 2011, India is the single largest location for forging facility, which is basically for forging various kind of machine tools or for forming various type of frames and other stuff. It is the second largest petrochemical facility. Okay, so there's a huge opportunity in terms of hydrocarbon. The usage of hydrocarbons is immense. World's lowest cost steel producer is again attributed to India. So we are the world's lowest cost steel producer, and hopefully we are the, if I am correct, now we should be the second largest steel producer. So the infrastructure is there, the chemical industry is there, so all kind of facilities there. Incidentally, with the advent of increase in purchasing power, it has become one of the major hub for vehicles. Okay, so there are large amount of vehicles, specifically the growth of auto industry is immense in India. So there is an opportunity in all sectors. If one which I have not written down here is specifically the Indian energy targets. So there's a huge shortfall of energy, and there are various 5-year plans trying to curb the shortage in requirement of energy. India also has an ambitious growth of adding renewable energy to its kitty, and therefore there is a big opportunity in the renewable energy space. Coming to the last point, where India is actually among the top 5 manufacturing in the top 5 manufacturing segments. So India basically has a huge share in the food products, in basic metals, and rubber and petrochemicals. Electrical machinery is another which is of high demand because of the infrastructure projects, especially in the hydro power and other aspects, and also because of the large development of infrastructure. So you would find that a large amount of manufacturing sector specifically would basically cater to an Indian requirement, which would be basically mostly domestic demand, which again offers a huge opportunity for European companies coming into India. I just wanted to share this slide to actually tell you that the growth story of India will continue in later years. This was a survey which was done potentially by the US Census Bureau, which basically tried to identify the working population in various countries, and it happened that India occupies one of the largest working populations in India. So the opportunity therein would increase. So as you see the working population increases, there would be more competition, there would be more economic growth, and compared to other countries in the world where this particular working population would be negative by 2020. So in a way, it would in future become a manufacturing hub and an hub for research and development activity. So in a nutshell, there is a huge opportunity in India across sectors. There is an opportunity to come and work in India, to basically set up shops in India, and this opportunity can never be more than what has been launched in India by Make in India campaign. Okay, the campaign basically covers 25 sectors, including biotechnology, renewable energy, thermal power, to name a few, and it also emphasizes for a robust intellectual property regime. Now, once you have all these criteria with you, I think this is the best place to invest and to come to India. So coming to the next section, which is about the Indian IP scenario. As you know, to give you an update, India is a member of WTO and a signatory of TRIPS. India is also a member of WIPO, which means that India is basically very serious about its IP procedures and other stuff. Of course, we will discuss a little bit more about it. But coming to the conventions which it has been signed to show how the IP is actually progressing into India, India is a signatory to large number of treaties and conventions, which includes WIPO, Budapest, BRAIN, Madrid Protocol, which was recently signed on protection of trademarks. So now there's an internationalization of trademarks in India. The Marrakesh Visually Impaired Persons Treaty, which is for visually impaired persons, Paris Convention, PCT Treaty, and Rome Convention. So normally most of the entire IP landscape in the world has been adopted by India, either in terms of being a signatory to one or being a signatory to a treaty or a convention. So in terms of its legislations, regulations, rules, and statute, India is very well developed in terms of IPR, and hopefully there is a little improvement which might be required in IP enforcement, which I take up on later. To give you the type of IP laws, there is a little distinction in terms of the working of IP laws. The Indian IP assets are basically handled by different sectors. So the Indian Copyright Act is under Ministry of HRD, whereas the Patent, Design and Trademark Act come under the Ministry of Commerce, under the Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion. The geographical indicators and goods registration again are under DIPP. Okay. The semiconductor and integrated circuit layout design statutes come under the Ministry of under the Department of Electronics and IT. And likewise, the biotech related issues, for example, protection of patent varieties, farmer rights, and other stuff come under the Department of Agriculture. The Biodiversity Act, which basically controls the modified and the modified structures with respect to genetically modified food and other stuff, are under Environment and Forest. Okay, so the Ministry of Biotechnology. So as you see, there is a diverse set of statutes under various ministries, and which sometimes create a bottleneck in terms of its management. Nevertheless, it is likely that these laws will be well developed. Of course, they are getting developed as the case law develops, and more IP is being filed into India. Subsequently, this would result in a very strong IP regime in India. To give you about the administration procedure of IP in India, so the IP is basically, as I told you, is under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, under DIPP, which is the Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion. Okay, so it is handled by the Controller General, and then the Controller General has a jurisdiction over Patent Office, the Trademark Registry, which handles the trademark. The patent offices are basically available in 4 jurisdictions in India, which are across north, south, west, east. So you can go to any patent office and file a patent application. The Trademark Registry is similarly available at 5 locations. The GI is basically based at Chennai, where the Interference Board is also present for any kind of patent in appeals and infringements. And then the Patent Information System is also available, which is located at NIIPM in Nagpur, which basically provides training and other support to the patent repository. So this gives a complete structure of how the patent office and the IP asset management is distributed in India. And I think this is fairly good enough as to how the statutes are related, what is the operational and administrative procedure of IP in India, and also how the allocation of various IP sectors have been done under various ministries. Let me give you an overview of the patent system. In terms of patents, India complies with TRIPS agreement. Of course, there are some differences in terms of the interpretation of Section 3D with the recent verdict on the case related to Section 3D, where Supreme Court has validated that Section 3 is an integral part of Indian IP law. Okay, but the Indian Patent Act has gone transformation to comply with the TRIPS agreement by its amendments in 2002 and subsequent amendments in 2005. Okay, which came into force in 2003 and in 2005. The amendment to patents were made to basically harmonize the patents with the international requirements, especially to comply with the TRIPS agreement and to adopt international practices and to make the patent system more user-friendly. Likewise, India recently, last year I think, signed the Madrid Protocol, which allows a mark to be protected under various jurisdictions by filing one international registration. So in a way, in India, the internationalization of IP system is happening. The IP statute is well developed. There is a marked improvement in terms of the cases which are coming up, but there is little deficiency in terms of the case law, and because of the absence of case law, sometimes there are verdicts which sometimes conflicts with the interest of larger industries. Nevertheless, we are very hopeful that this strong IP regime will continue to be in place subsequently in subsequent years, and therefore there will be a strong IP regime to support Make in India campaign, which gives a huge opportunity for European companies to work into India. And EBTC, again, as I told you earlier, also provides a gambit of services to support any European entry into India. So if you want to get an entry into India, you should definitely write to us. Okay, so there were various laws as we have already discussed about. I think again this is just a reiteration of that. Let me give you the procedure of one of the IP asset management. Let's take it for the patent, which are the most important assets in the IP framework. Okay, so just to help you out as to how it is different, little bit different in terms of the laws applicable outside India, especially with US and the European laws. Likewise, in anywhere in the world, you can find a provisional agreement application. You can also use a PCT route to filing an application, or you can basically use a basic convention Indian application to the Indian Patent Office. Now, once you file this, you have a kind of a mandate to get a request for examination, which you can file within 48 months from the date of priority or of the filing. Okay, as the international laws or as per the US Patent Office, it will get published within 18 months. I think this 18 months period is applicable throughout with slight delays, which may happen from sector to sector. Okay. India also provides a provision wherein after the filing on application under section 25, you can have a pre-grant opposition. That means you can basically oppose a patent application on various grounds given under section 25. Those who want to refer to them can go to Indian Patent Office site, which is www.ipo.nic.in, and there you will find the complete statute and procedures for handling pre-grant opposition. Okay, if you file a request for examination, the application would be examined. The first examination report would be available to you, and you have 12 months to respond to it. Depending on the prosecution status, you may get a grant or your patent may get rejected. Okay. After the grant, there is another opportunity for general public to oppose a patent application, which is under, I think, section 25(2), wherein you can basically file or post-grant opposition. When you file a post-grant opposition, okay, you can basically say that the application has been granted on wrong terms, and therefore you can continue the prosecution, and this then goes into a regular mode in the patent office. Okay, but if nothing happens, you will get a patent out in India. So this procedure is a very simple one, like any others. Likewise, there are procedures for filing trademarks and other stuff, which you can take it forward. Okay, so I just wanted to give you an exemplary view as to how it does. This is a typical diagram which basically gives you an idea when an average time taken from filing to grant. For example, for patents, it's normally 4 to 5 years. For trademarks, it is 3 to 4 years. And for designs, it takes 2 to 3 years. Likewise for geographical indicators. But recently, geographical indicators have been given much earlier. And copyright, which happens within 1 year. So this is a tentative average timeline. One should not adhere to it, but this is something which is on average followed. Okay. Now let me give you a broad outline, since this is a very small and compressed webinar about the IP policy challenges. Now, of course, everything looks good, but there are certain things where there are challenges. The recent developments in compulsory licensing sometimes is a cause of concern, especially in the pharmaceutical sector. The patent restoration term. So India does not recognize patent restoration, which means that if your patent application is delayed or it gets delayed because of procedural stuff at the patent office, then you will not be given additional time to make out for 20 years, which is the normal period for a patent to exist. So this is another thing. So if you get delayed by 7 years, you would only have 13 years to work your patent out. Another thing which is required as per statute in India is the working of patents. In India, you have to file a report with the patent office to ensure that you have that, to show that your patent is being worked upon. And therefore, it is important to comply with this regulation. Otherwise, there could be a disciplinary action in terms of getting the patent abandoned by the patent office or taking some steps. One of the important concerns is that under the new manufacturing policy, there has been a compulsory license which is available for clean and green technologies, which to a certain extent, to my personal view, is kind of a hindrance to getting new technologies into India, because they would be sometimes fearful as to whether compulsory licenses would be awarded on that technology area. Okay. In addition, there are sometimes procedural and bureaucratic delays in IP procedures, especially in IP enforcement in courts. Sometimes it takes a lot more time in courts than it is anticipated, resulting in loss of revenue, in loss of sometimes even other people taking advantage of such stuff and filing it in the court, and they know that it will not be handled earlier. So these are some of the policy barrier changes where we need to work on, the India needs to work on, and to make it more user-friendly for foreign investors to come in, especially the European ones. And then with respect to data security laws, of course, then we do not have a trade secret law policy or a statute in India, and therefore sometimes data security issues which are handled under the IT laws, there may not be enough protection to that. Collaborative research again is an issue, specifically with respect to joint research. It is difficult to manage IP because there is lack of understanding of IP clauses with the researchers, and EBTC is trying hard to work on this, both on the European side and with their collaborators in India, to basically build capacity so that researchers feel more free and know the value of IP which is created. I think for the other positive aspects I will come to on as when I do the IP enforcement one. IP enforcement, of course. So let me take out two small cases to basically tell you as to how the IP cases have been or the IP enforcement has taken place into India. Okay, I have specifically shortlisted two cases, one which has a very positive development, okay, and the other one which has a little negative one. But before going on to this, let me basically disclose the remedies which are available under the statute in India. So there are civil remedies wherein you can basically get an infringement. Basically, you can get a kind of a interim relief for basically infringement of patents, which is either through passing off, or you can basically go and you can basically get an injunction on a patent. So those are the two civil remedies which are available. Of course, you can file a criminal suit in certain cases, and there are administrative procedures, okay, where factors considered could range from prima facie case or balance of convenience, or maybe to basically maintain a status quo, which again is an injunction. So there are specific remedies, and these are tedious procedures and difficult to address in such a small time, but you will feel free to write to me, and I would probably be able to help you along with specific case laws in that area to make you understand more on this. So please feel free to connect. Because of the lack of time, we will not be able to take it in detail here. Okay, let me give out a very solid judgment which was given by the Honorable Supreme Court in India under the which was basically the twin spark plug engine technology. I think in this case what happened was that Bajaj was basically propagating about the technology which was basically more to do with the dual spark plug ignition system, which is known as DTSI. Counter to that, another Indian company called TVS Motor developed CCTI, which is combined combustion technology. In this case, what happened? Bajaj sued TVS for infringement, saying that the technology has been copied. Okay, the case went on. There were interim injunctions. Then there were sometimes some relief was also provided. Finally, it went to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court gave a judgment. Along with the final judgment, there was given that all IP cases should normally be settled within 4 months from the date of filing of the suit, and the Supreme Court said further directed all the courts and tribunals in the country to punctually and faithfully carry out the aforesaid orders. So ideally, there was and verdict by the highest court in India to settle all cases within 4 months. And I think after that, people have stopped going for injunction, and basically they want to go to the prosecution of the infringement. The other one is about the patent linkage mechanism. Of course, this one was again Bayer. To multinational, it may not suit, but it basically balances out, which basically gives you the policy in India. So it may not be very positive on terms of pharmaceutical companies, but this is the Indian point of view on this, is that basically the patent linkage should not be made. So in this case, what happened was Bayer had actually filed an application in the Delhi High Court seeking a petition to basically stop giving marketing rights for a drug called sofosbuvir, which was basically for renal treatment of renal cancer, and this drug was quite costly. The Supreme Court basically declined this request, stating that the patent linkage cannot be provided in India. Now, what are the consequences of this? The consequences of this is that if you have a patent pending and some generic drug is developed over that period, okay, and exclusive marketing rights are requested, then unless that patent is enforced, the generic company would get it. So in a way, this is quite discouraging. But anyhow, this is what the verdict actually came out, and therefore this might not go very well sometimes in cases of multinationals. So there has been positive and negative developments in the enforcement part. The enforcement definitely needs to be pulled up in India. However, things are improving, and people are very hopeful, and we are also hopeful that with new government in place, we would have a strong IP regime in India. And having said this, a huge opportunity to work in India, an opportunity to capture a large market in India with Make in India campaign, with coming up of these strong IP regime into India. I think opportunity is again there to come to India, and EVTC can actually help you in that path of coming into India, no matter what kind of services you require. Okay, to quickly capitalize on the strategies to protect IPR into India. Okay, please ensure that whenever you enter into any discussion with an Indian company, please ensure that your proprietary technology is protected under non-disclosure agreement or under confidentiality agreement, so that you can take some relief in case something happens out there. Okay, so be very sure, don't be very enthusiastic about disclosing the technology to others. Okay, follow a slow and steady approach of signing few things under confidentiality and non-disclosure with the part before disclosing something. Okay, then another important aspect is India is a developing market. IP regime is getting stronger and stronger. Courts will become more active, and therefore it is important, if you have an important invention to cover a large market of India, please do protect your invention in India. Okay, then while entering into collaboration with an Indian counter, please ensure that you define the use of IP in written agreements clearly and well established. Okay, India does not have a trade secret law, therefore anything which you protect as a proprietary item, if it gets disclosed, it will be used. Okay, it will be very difficult to protect them. Specifically, if something is not clearly written out in IP terms, it would be interrupted under the Contracts Acts, or Indian Contract Act 1972. Okay, so it will be difficult for you to defend there. Please ensure whenever you are sharing an IP, a background IP for future research, the terms of how you would share the new IP which would be developed, okay, should be specifically outlined in the agreement, either initially or at an intermediate state. Okay, this is important because many of the technologies which come into Europe, from Europe to India, need to be adapted or localized, either to reduce cost or to make them workable in India under the Indian environment, and therefore it results sometimes in creation of new IP. In absence of any agreement on new IP, what happens that this IP becomes free to use, and later on it will be very difficult to protect that IP or to contest that the IP was developed on the background technology if you do not have a well drafted contract on it. Okay, so again, do perform a proper due diligence with the collaborating party. Ensure that whatever you are doing with a certain party, he has proper credentials. Use EBTC's help for due diligence if required. Okay, so that you do not get into wrong hands, or your property or your intellectual property doesn't get copied out. Okay, do understand that India, there are people who are very small, and it will not make an economic sense to basically go after them under infringement, because the amount of complexity in terms of cost required will be so high that and the results will be so low that you will not benefit out of it. Moving further on the strategy part, okay, protect your IP in all forms, which is normally the case. Okay, don't rely on one intellectual property mechanism to protect it. Use trademarks, copyrights, designs, and ensure that you protect it and camouflage it from all directions. Ensure that the European organizations like EBTC or IFCI or others act as mediators in managing your relationship when you enter into India, so that you have someone to rely on if you get into little trouble, or someone to guide upon when entering into India. Okay. Also check with the standards authority. Sometimes Indian standards are not up to date with the European standards. Sorry. And what happens is that you will not be able to basically in a way use standards, or when you try to bring technologies, you would say it might be required that you would need an upgradation in standards. So if you come to that kind of a bottleneck, please ensure that either you are working with some European organization in India, or you check with the standards first and see that the standards are as per your product and services before making a address into India. Just to help you out with all this, the India IPR help desk is available. Okay, the objectives of which is to protect and support intellectual property interest of European organizations in India as per the European Union Commission mandate, spread awareness about IP laws, regulations to European SMEs about India. So this webinar is a part of those series. We also aggregate concerns specifically related to market access. So if you come across some of them, please do write to us. We will ensure that a proper follow-up is done for getting those access rights to the relevant European organization for doing a policy advocacy with the government. IPR capacity building in India is an important element which we do on enforcement and infringement. Then basically more of technology transfer stuff, where we basically facilitate joint technology development, localization, technology transfer, and other stuff. Patent commercialization, technology are again one of the kind of a revenue generators in this. So if you have a long list of patents which have not been commercially exploited, you are sitting on that gold mine. Okay, you can send it to us. We will do the analysis and we will help you in commercializing those patents for a value. So do consider this as a service which might be beneficial to you. You're sitting on something which is not very attractive to you because of some reason, which might be a revenue earner for you also. This is an overview of the services on the IPR help desk. Okay, so as I told you, the green parts are free of cost. We normally advertise it on our website. You can find a lot of material related to IPR on our website. You can directly go to EBTC, www.ebtc.eu/IPR, and you can find a long list of FAQs which are available. We also support IPR filing only for small SMEs who cannot directly come into India but look India as a market. So we have a service which is the Orange Stake, where we basically help in prosecution, filing of patents for those SMEs only. Okay, we have a range of IP services for SMEs so as to encourage them by providing them a low-cost service on patent searches, on prosecution help, commercialization, freedom to operate, so that in a low budget compared to Europe, they can enter into India. So that is again a service. So please do look after these services which are available in our website. In case you need any more assistance on this, please do let me know or write to ipr@ebtc.eu. We will be happy to respond to your request. Okay, and this is one thing which we help out, because any IP cannot exist of its own. The IP has to be either transferred or protected or licensed or used in some form to gain revenues out of it. If you cannot gain revenue, or you cannot accrue revenues from the IP, then it is a cost center for you. And to support the services, we have these toolbox which we know. So one is the patent commercialization. As I told you, the IP team at EBTC would analyze your patents and let you know which are the good ones which can be commercialized in India, identify partners and make relationships with them for commercializing those patents. The Enterprise European Network is another fantastic tool, and I think most of you in Europe would know about it. And we are an India arm. Okay, we can help you in basically do the matchmaking or provide you services on entering into India when you form a relationship either through EN or through other means also. But EN, again, there are a lot of Indian requirements, and there are European organizations who do have technologies which they want to either license or they want to sell it in India. They basically advertise it, and we support that EN network as one of the tools for technology transfer. Okay, technology diffusion and transfer. Okay, we have regional offices who have huge requirements in terms of from SMEs in India about various technologies, maybe it water related, maybe it may be related to pollution, or it may be related to reclamation of water, anything on clean tech. Do get in touch with us as to what technology you own and what you want to do in India. We will be happy to matchmake and identify Indian counterparts who would be interested in your technology. Of course, this is a service which is not free of cost, so you might have to incur little cost, but that is only to support EBTC in its operation and not for profit. Okay, so you can do write to us. There is again a fantastic tool called eTech, which is basically the European Technology Experience Center. Okay, which is available, which is under development in our website. You can go to the eTech platform through our website. The eTech platform basically lists all kind of technologies. So any Indian company can go and see what technology is available. It can see the models, the description of these technologies on that particular website. So if you have any technologies to sell into India, okay, eTech could be one way of entering into India. It basically is, currently it is free of cost, but in future it will be paid. So utilize this opportunity to file your technologies or your products into eTech Center. And eTech centers are available. Currently it is in Bangalore, but with the provision of being extended to other locations, you will find that many SMEs who visit in our offices would be able to capture these technologies or write back to you on collaboration on these technologies. Okay, just to give you the headshot of the two people who did this. Payal is not with me. I'm Arvind Chopra. I head the European Business and Technology Center's IPR division. Okay. For any kind of questions, please do feel to get in touch with me. Thank you very much for your patient listening. Okay, I would be happy to take on the questions if you have, or you can basically even ask questions on that. So I do have a question from Centrin, which says, hello, when we sell an equipment and some engineering work and provide an IP license to use our IPs, does IP clause in the contract is sufficient, or is there any obligation to register this license with the Indian authority? I think in this case, if you get the contract registered with the courts in India as per the procedure, it would be extremely helpful. Of course, it costs too much, and therefore many people do not actually get them registered. Okay, they try to prosecute it, but I would recommend if the amount is too large and there's a substantial cost, you should get the contracts registered under a procedure. You can find it, or you can write to me. I can send you the link. So how to register the contract in website, or you can get in touch with any lawyer or you can write to us. We can basically help you out with that. But definitely the contracts which are registered are much more enforceable. Please provide me with this is from Amjad Sheikh. Please provide me a few examples on IP enforcement in India. Amjad, I'm not sure what kind of enforcement you are basically looking at. I've already provided 2 verdicts in my slides. Can you be a little more specific? See, okay. And then Amjad again asked me another question which says, what are the 3 typical issues of technology transfer? See, the 3 typical issues which I face during the technology transfer is that I find that because of the exchange rate difference between EU and India, what happens is that technology sometimes become very expensive. The basic challenge, even if the technology is costly and people tend to buy it, okay, because of the exchange rate problem or due to certain other aspects, the technology transfer, people in India do not account for cost of basically adding skills to people, okay, the implementation, the availability of raw material for that technology. So these are some things which are not thought of during the technology transfer and become bottleneck later on. For example, let me give you another case. In one of the cases, a standard was considered to be an issue because there were standards in India where air filtration required the air which has been used up inside a building to be thrown out to the atmosphere. Whereas the technology was good enough to basically reuse the air within the building. Because the standard does not allow this technology cannot be adopted in India. Another example, okay, in one of the cases, the material which was to be used for manufacturing was not available in India, and it became extremely expensive to basically import that material. So that technology transfer didn't happen not because the technology was costly or the technology was expensive or because the parties were not agreed to that technology transfer. It happened because some of the raw material which was required for manufacturing using that technology was not available in India. So these are some of the examples. Another issue is that cost of basically hiring people and making them and providing them training on the technology. So this again is an issue because it is a substantial cost to basically hire people and to train them on that technology. For example, in biomedical, in a diabetic retinopathy, the cost of training a particular person was much higher than the cost of camera which was required for analysis of the retinology for diabetic retinology. So that technology has another aspect where the HR cost is much higher on the training part for making a person achieve that level to identify specific kind of a disease or a disorder in the retinopathy or in the loss of vision, okay, using the software and training him for a couple of years. So these are some of the aspects which do play an important role. Sorry? Yeah. Tell me what. People can also ask questions by raising their hands by clicking on that icon, and then the administrator would probably unmute him and he can ask a question directly to me if required or to Payal on anything related to IFTI. Okay, so I don't see any more questions coming in, and since we have another webinar, the back-to-back webinar just a few minutes later from here, I would thank you all for your time and for patiently listening to me. I hope that I was able to give you a small brief overview, not a complete overview, okay, of what happens and the services which EBTC offers to you So do write to us on the address provided, or you are most welcome to even call me on the numbers provided here. Okay. Payal, you want to say anything?
No, thank you very much to everyone for attending, and also to EBTC for this session. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Payal, and I hope that we together would be able to organize much more webinars. Okay. Thanks. So we will just sign off. Thank you so much. Bye.